I have about 15 minutes to present. Let me get started by showing this figure. Everyone know that road safety is one of the most urgent public health challenges. According to the World Health Organization, approximately 1.35 million people die every year in the road accidents. To put that into perspective, that's nearly around almost 4,000 people per day, every day of the year, and this happens every year. So this tragic loss of life is entirely preventable. Well, when we look closely at the mortality rate in this chart, you can see that comparing between 2016 to 2021, uh, the data from the WHO show that the rate for the Southeast Asia region has not changed at all. You can see from the graph here, 16 in 2016, and still the rate is still 16 in 2021. So nothing has been improved. Well, let's now narrow down on the focus to the Southeast Asia region. This is where the situation is particularly concerning. The region is experiencing rapid urbanization, leading to the higher densities of vehicles on the road. Unfortunately, the infrastructure development has not kept pace with this growth. So that leads to the unsafe road conditions, especially for the vulnerable road users. This is the global plan under the Decade of Action for Road Safety. This is the 10-year goal from 2021 to 2030. The plan incorporates the safe system approach, aiming to cut at least 50% of the road traffic deaths and injuries by the end of the decade. To tackle this, there are several components that we can do. You can see from the left here that we can tackle the multimodal transportation, the road, the vehicles, the road users, and of course the post-catch responses. Now, narrow down to what we call the vulnerable road users. The vulnerable road users, or VRU, include pedestrians, cyclists, motorcyclists, and public transport users. These groups are considered vulnerable because they are unprotected or they are lightly protected in the case of motorcyclists. Statistics show that VRU account for more than half of the traffic deaths on the road. Pedestrians are also at least due to the lack of the safe crossings or sidewalks. Cyclists and motorcyclists are because they often share the road space with the fast-moving vehicles without sufficient protection. Well, there are several factors that make the values vulnerable, especially in rapidly urbanizing regions. First, if you look at the urban area, the urban design in many cities is still largely car-centric. When I say car-centric, streets are designed to maximize just the vehicle throughput, often at the expense of the safety of pedestrians and cyclists. In addition, the public awareness campaigns are insufficient in educating both motorists and VRU about the safe practices. Secondly, if we look at the infrastructure development, it often lags behind. In many cities, it has failed to keep pace with the rising number of VRUs. For example, sidewalks may be inadequate, bike lanes may be non-existent, or pedestrian crossings may be poorly designed or positioned. As our city grows, the traffic volume increases, but without proper infrastructure, the VRU are still facing a lot of risk here. This slide shows the percentage of the distribution of country-reported deaths by road user type. Let's just focus on the green bar. This is for the power 2-3-wheelers. So in our case, they are motorcyclists. It is apparent that this road user type in our region are disproportionately impacted. From the data, up to 46% of the deaths are from the motorcyclists. In Thailand, you might not believe it, this number goes up to 80% of the total road fatalities. Well, as a pedestrian, do you think that crossing a road at a designated cross safe? Many of us would agree. But let's quickly see this video. This is taken from a street in Bangkok just recently. You can see that there's a person trying to cross the road on a designated crossway, but suddenly a traffic accident happened. What's going on here? I think everyone would agree that just being a painting of the crossroad is not sufficient. There are other strategies that are needed to be done in order to keep our roads safer. Well, only a small percentage of the road length in many countries meet the three-star rating standard. This is the standard by the IRAP, the International Road Assessment Program. So this highlights the urgent need for the investment in safer infrastructure, particularly for the VRU. If you can see the bar for pedestrians, cyclists, and motorcyclists, they are very small. The lower, that means there will be a lot of three-star or lower road condition, they are unsafe. So just less than half are according to the standard at this moment for the vulnerable road users. Well, to summarize the key challenges, first, there are significant infrastructure deficiencies. In many cities, sidewalks are narrow, obstructed, or completely absent, making it dangerous for pedestrians. Safe crossings, better at grade or overpasses are often inadequate. Bicycle lanes, when they exist, they are even poorly designed or poorly maintained. Next, for the unsafe road user behaviors, we know these are quite commonly, such as speeding, distracted driving, impaired driving. They are one of the top reasons why we have the traffic accidents here in Thailand. The next one is the inadequate law enforcement. Of course, we try to do the enforcement, but at this moment, the traffic regulations are often not strictly enforced. This includes the laws on speeding, helmet use for motorcyclists, and seatbelt use for drivers and passengers. And finally, there is a limited public awareness. As I said earlier, many road users are not aware of the risk that the VRUs face, and education campaigns are insufficient to instill a culture of road safety at this moment. Well, you might remember this tragedy again. It happened in Khon Kaen University some time ago. This bus is trying to turn right, but the problem is with the infrastructure design like this, the visibility is not clear for the driver. So what happened is like this. We got a loss of the motorcyclist, which is our road user, just because of the not so well maintained road infrastructure, even inside the campus, where we think that it's supposed to be safe, but it's actually not safe at all. Well, when we talk about VRUs, we also should focus on the motorcycles. Motorcycles are a common mode of transport in many regions, particularly in South Asia, where they account for a large proportion of the vehicle fleet. However, motorcyclists are also highly vulnerable at this moment. They lack the effective structure of a vehicle. One effective way to reduce the motorcycle-related injuries is through the dedicated motorcycle lanes. It's, and it has been proven by World Health Organization that it is one of the effective measures for the road safety of motorcyclists. But if we look at the Thailand example, we never try it officially, even though it is available some other countries like in Indonesia, in Taiwan, or even in Malaysia. Then to the dedicated lanes, the installation of protective barriers separating motorcycles from cars and trucks, it can significantly reduce the likelihood of accidents. The next one is the helmet enforcement. It is another critical factor. While laws mandating the helmets exist in many countries, including Thailand, but the enforcement is often inconsistent. Studies have shown that the strict enforcement of the helmet law can significantly reduce the fatalities of the motorcycle up to 40% based on the literature. Well, whether there is a need for motorcycle infrastructure, that's what we have to think and what we have to focus. This is an example of the motorcycle box. It is available almost everywhere. The left one is in Bangkok, Thailand, and the right is in Jakarta, Indonesia. But what if we talk about motorcycle lane? As I mentioned earlier, well, it's available in Malaysia, in Indonesia, Taiwan, and in many other cities. But what about for Bangkok, where we have a lot of motorcycles? They are not still not available at this moment. So is it about time that we, as try to do a pilot survey, putting motorcycle lanes and see whether it is effective for Bangkok situation. Well, this slide presents some initiative to cope with the problem. This one is located on the highway 340 in the central Thailand. Here you can see that there is a roundabout where motorcycle can easily move from one side to the minor road to the other side with the use of the roundabout and the underpass. So this infrastructure setting makes motorcyclists first. Another point is the speed. Well, we all know that the lower the better, the lower the risk of having the severity of the accidents. Why speeding is a major contributor to the severity of the accident. The relationship between the speed and collision severity is well documented. You can see from the graph here. If we have a fast moving vehicle, there will be more likelihood that it will face the fatal or serious injury in the event of the collision. That's why we have to set up an appropriate speed limit. It's known from the past study already that if it is for pedestrian, we know the number that's 30 kilometers per hour. That's the safe speed. Or it's 50 for the intersection or 70 in order to avoid the head-on collision. So this is not easy, but the problem is how how we can enforce this in Thailand. That's another important issue. Well, since the time is limited, I just would like to try to touch upon another measures. That's the traffic calming measures, speed reduction techniques like speed humps, cushions, lane pedestrian crossings, or the way we can narrow the roadways like road diet, or the way we use the high visibility road markings. They all help in order to make our road safer. So we should consider this kind of traffic calming measures in order to make our situation more safer. For pedestrians, there are many things, many techniques that we can use. Some examples are shown here, like the sidewalks and footpaths, crossing and overpasses. This is something that we can easily do if we know that it is effectiveness. That's the reason why we should implement it in Thai roads. Well, we have a program called the ratings for schools. This is how we can make our children go to school safer. So we can identify the high risk locations and we can pinpoint them and we can find some appropriate countermeasures in order to make our roads 3-star or better. So it's already there. It's just a matter of use it and implement it. Something like this, as an example, we can improve the visibility of the school zones, make it clearer so that vehicles can clearly see the school zone and slow down the traffic. Some examples here. Let me move it, go to one of my last slides. This is important and it's related to the urban planning issue, that concept about link and pace. When we talk about the links, we treat the street as the movement of the conduit. The objective is to save time. But at the same time, in the new concept, you have to think about the road as a place also. It is the destination where people can shop, where people can spend their time alongside of the road. So this is a very important concept that we should keep in mind when we design the road so that we can accommodate the vulnerable road users. Pedestrians can use the road as well as the drivers. Well, at the end, this is something that we can do. It's from the macro design on the left-hand side and on the right-hand side. They are the same area, same right of way. But if you can see the star rating on the left-hand side, all of the type, they are well below 3 stars, unsafe. But on the right-hand side, if somehow we can make the street safer through the design, we can make everything 4 and 5 stars, so everyone will be safe on the road, not just the drivers, but also the vulnerable road users. Well, this is almost my last slide. We used to have the Bangkok Car Free Day in the downtown Bangkok. This is done by the Bangkok City in cooperation with many organizations, including Chulalongkorn University. So we close a portion of the street in downtown Bangkok over the weekend. So in this case, pedestrians and bicyclists are allowed to use the road. Although this activity is considered a social experiment, the responses from the public is quite positive. and the city is evaluating whether or not this event should continue. So to summarize everything, there are many ways that we can do. What's the way forward then? In the short term, quick fixes such as depending cross roads, increasing the road signage, or even improving the lighting can make a noticeable difference. But for the lasting impact, we need long-term strategies. This it might include the comprehensive urban mobility plans that prioritize public transportation and vulnerable road users. Investment in public transportation is critical. It will reduce the number of vehicles on the road and it will encourage more sustainable modes of transportation. So I would like to stop here for the first presentation. I hope that this might be a good stopping point for other speakers also. Thank you very much.